World Cup qualifying Asia-Japan vs Australia prediction, team news, lineups preview. Yet to drop a point or even concede a goal across the entirety of 2026 World Cup qualifying. Japan face their toughest examination yet on Tuesday, taking on Australia in Group C of the third round at the Saitama Stadium. Hajime Moriyasu's men conquered Saudi Arabia 2-0 in their most recent contest, while the Socceroos made it third time lucky with a 3-1 triumph over China last time out. Match preview. After breezing through the second round with 4 successive wins over North Korea, Myanmar and Syria, Japan have picked up exactly where they left off in AFC World Cup qualifying, and Moriyasu's side have been unyielding throughout the preliminary process so far. September saw the Samurai Blue ease to a 7-0 obliteration of China and 5-0 annihilation of Bahrain, and even though Saudi Arabia would ostensibly pose more of a challenge on Thursday, Japan maintained their perfect points and defensive record in clinical fashion. Goals either side of the halftime whistle from Daichi Kamada and Koki Ogawa kept Japan cruising at the top of Group C with maximum points. 5 clear of upcoming opponents Australia, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, meaning that they will remain top no matter what transpires here. With 10 rounds in total, the Samurai Blue must wait a little while longer to officially confirm their spot at the 2026 global gathering. But it would take an almighty collapse for Japan to relinquish their hold on a top 2 spot, which will guarantee direct qualification. Even the third and fourth placed sides will have the safety net of the fourth round. But for a Japan team that has scored 28 goals and conceded none in their last 7 games, nothing less than the gold medal position will do. While Japan have been blowing their opponents away ever since qualification began, Australia got off to a false start in the third round last month, falling to a shock 1-0 loss to Bahrain before being held to a goalless stalemate against Indonesia on matchday 2. In the wake of those disappointing results, the long-serving Graham Arnold stood down from his position after 6 years as head coach, handing the reins over to former national team defender Tony Popovic, a familiar name to Crystal Palace fans from the early 2000s. The former Eagles captain got off to an ideal start in the hot seat on Thursday, as even though Xia Wenning broke the deadlock for China, Lewis Miller responded on the stroke of the break before Craig Goodwin and Nishan Velupillay completed the Socceroos' turnaround. Australia are now one of 3 teams on 4 points in Group C, although their superior goal difference to Saudi Arabia and Bahrain means that the coveted runners-up spot is currently theirs. Although Indonesia are also just 1 point behind the perennial World Cup participants. The head-to-head column does not make for positive reading for Australia either, as they have been beaten in each of their last 3 clashes with Japan and are winless in 9 against the Samurai Blue, whose last defeat in this fixture came back in 2009 courtesy of a Tim Cahill brace. Team news. Despite being called up to the squad for October's internationals, 38-year-old defender Yuto Nagatomo, Japan's second-highest capped men's player in history with 142, was not nominated to the matchday squad against Saudi Arabia, leaving his participation here up in the air. Former Liverpool and current Monaco winger Takumi Minamino was taken off at halftime in the success over Saudi Arabia, although it is unclear whether that was a forced or tactical choice from Moriyasu, who has Takafusa Kubo and Junya Ito waiting in reserve. Assuming Minamino is in peak condition, the ex-Reds attacker ought to join Kamada as part of the supporting cast up front, although Ogawa now has a case to start over Ie Sueda following his goal off the bench last week. As for Australia, Portsmouth attacker Sam Silvera was forced to sit out the win over China due to suspension, having picked up his second booking of qualification against Indonesia last month. but the 23-year-old is now available again. Silveira's return is timely, as Nestori Irankunda was forced off with an unspecified injury at halftime against China, although it remains to be seen whether his concern is serious enough to rule him out of Tuesday's game. Either way, Riley McGree and goalscorer Valupale are competent options to step into the attack, while Jackson Irvine sports the captain's armband from the middle of the park. Japan possible starting lineup: Suzuki, Taniguchi, Machida, Itakura, Don, Endo, Morita, Mitoma, Minamino, Kamada, Ogawa. Australia possible starting lineup: Gauci, Sauter, Deng, Rolls, Miller, O'Neill, Irvine, Behich, Goodwin, McGree, Duke. We say, Japan 2-0 Australia. Every foe that has stood in Japan's way so far has left with their tails tucked between their legs. And a similar tale should unfold on Tuesday, in spite of Australia's superior quality compared to some of their Group C rivals. Despite their statement win in midweek, the visitors are still finding their feet under Popovic and do not pack as much of a punch up front as their unblemished hosts. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to click the subscribed button and hit the bell icon for more.